What's going on, everybody? I'm J-Hugs, and I've been playing DC Dual Force ever since the very first streamer beta for this game. So this game has been through some things, right? It has been through some things, but ranked mode just released fairly recently, and I finally got to World's Finest rank, which is the highest rank in the game. I'm not in the top 50, but you know, it's fine. I really just wanted to get to World's Finest, and we made it. And what I want to do today is just kind of show you the decks that I used. Now, from Sidekick rank to Bronze rank, I experimented with a bunch of different decks, mainly like aggro decks because I just wanted to get quick wins. But once I got to Bronze all the way up to World's Finest, there were two decks that I mainly stuck with. So I'm going to be focusing on those two decks. So let's get into it. So this is the first deck I used. It is a Superman Batman deck here, and what this deck is trying to do is it's just a bunch of mid-range, just good cards, right? With the tactic side with Batman, we kind of focus on the gadget synergy a little bit with a lot of gadgets, a lot of cards that benefit from playing gadgets or generating gadgets. And then the might side, there's not a lot of synergy with Superman. You can opt for lowest lane and shields and things like that, but I decided to not go that route. I just really just added good might cards, cards that charge our leaders as well. Any cards that are going to charge your leaders in this game are generally very good cards, and just cards that, you know, buff our recruits, right? So let's take a look at this deck list. But actually, real quick before we do, I will say Superman is very much a personal preference. I don't think he's one of the best leaders at all. And in fact, I would say Superman is kind of a mid leader, honestly. But he's just one of my personal favorites to play. Honestly, you're probably, if you're looking to climb more, you probably want to go like either Wonder Woman or Aquaman. This is the deck that I played from Bronze up until rank 10. So I did use this for the majority of my climb. I am very familiar with this deck. But once I got to rank 10, this deck wasn't exactly cutting it anymore. I was just getting beat up by decks that were better than me. And I will talk about the other deck that I used from rank 10 to 0 after this one. But with that out of the way, I think this is still a decent deck. So let's get into the card deck list here. First, we got Alfred. If you're playing Batman, you're probably playing Alfred. Just a really good card. He's going to draw you a card and get a bandage each turn if he stays on the board. Next up, we have Antiope, which is just a generic good bronze card, right? Like, the aura keyword is very strong in this game, and 3/3 is actually like a really good stat line for a bronze. I feel like this card is flexible. You can swap it out if you would like for like another bronze card if you really want to, maybe like Crypto or Wildcat or something like that. But I think this is just a good bronze to have. Next up, we have the Question. Again, just a good bronze. 2/1 Hunter. Draw a card, not much to it. Superman Robot, 2/1 Shield Guard, just good bronze units, right? We got one copy of Super Strength. This is also a card that I believe can be flexed out if you don't like it, or you can add a second copy if you want. It's going to buff a friendly recruit, so just an all-around general good card, right? You can maybe swap it out for bracers if you really wanted. Next up, we have Steve Trevor. Steve Trevor, one of the best bronzes in the game. He's going to charge a leader. This card is insanely strong, especially if you're going second. You can play Steve and activate your Batman on the first turn of the game, which is pretty nuts. So Steve, one of the best bronzes in the game, absolutely. Just an amazing card. Bluebird, leaning into that gadget synergy a little bit here, create a gadget for us. Detective Chimp is, again, just a good card, right? 2/3 evade. He's going to give us 3 cards we can choose from that are cards that our opponent might be playing in their deck. If we pick the correct one, we will draw a card. Plus, he has the evade keyword, which is also a really good keyword. Favor of the Gods. I really like this card a lot. This card does a lot. It draws a card, and it's going to buff up a recruit in your hand by giving him +2/+2, and the guard keyword as well. So this is just a really good card overall. Next up, we have Utility Belt. It's going to seek any gadget, which is actually really nice because we can pick any gadget that we want. There's a bandage, battering, grapnel gun, and tear gas. So when you activate your Batman leader, it's only going to give you 2 options to choose from, but with the utility belt, we can choose any gadget we want, and it draws a card on top of that. So utility belt is a very, very valuable card. Next up, we have Robin here, which is a 5/5 evade. After Robin attacks, charge your leaders. Again, any card that reads charge your leaders, you probably can't go wrong with, right? So Robin, if he sticks on the board, this is like something that your opponent has to answer. If this stays on the board and you just keep charging your leaders over and over, like, it's basically game over, honestly. Like, this is a card your opponent has to answer. If not, he's gonna pop off. And then next up, we have Queen Hippolyta. I'm not sure how to say it, to be honest with you. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, let me know. But it's either Hippolyta, Hippolyta, I don't know. But anyway, she's a silver. Recruit 4/5 stat line aura. Deploy, give your other recruits +1/+1. Just a very, very good silver card. If we have a full board, we could take advantage of her ability. Buff up all our recruits. Good stat line. Again, aura is a good keyword as well. Next up, we have Lobo, which is a 6/6, good stat line. He's going to put a bounty on a random enemy, which you can identify from this little icon here. And then after he frags that Bastich, or in other words, after he KOs that recruit or leader, he can also mark enemy leaders. He's going to draw 2 cards, and they become free. This ability is very, very powerful. Again, this is one of those things where, like, your opponent has to answer. Now the thing is, your opponent doesn't know what gets marked, though. So maybe they'll just like, I'll ignore Lobo. But if you can pull off this ability and draw 2 free cards, like, it could be like 2 gold cards you get for free, right? Like, it's pretty nuts. So this is, again, a card that your opponent is going to have to answer, or if not, they're going to get punished pretty hard. Next up, we got my boy Commissioner Gordon. He is a 2/1. He has evade, and he's going to summon a squad car, which is a 3/3 with speed. Again, a really, really good card overall. He's especially good with the queen here, because it gives two units on the board for her to buff, and he's also very good with the grapnel gun as well. You can play Commissioner Gordon, spawn a squad car with speed. You can grapple him back, play him again, get another squad car. So again, just an overall good card here. Next up, we got Batwing 3/3. After you play a gadget, he gets +1/+1, and he's going to create a gadget on deploy. So leaning into that gadget synergy once more a little bit here with Batwing. Again, this is one of those cards that needs to be answered. If not, he will get just bigger and bigger, right? Next up after that, we have the Thomas Wayne Batman. This is actually coming from the Flashpoint comic. So if you completed that comic, you got this card for free, which is actually really good because this card's insanely strong. He starts off as a 3/5, but he has Hunter and Hidden, and he gets +1 for each gadget you've played this game. So this is a card that's going to get stronger as time goes on within the game, right? So no matter where he is, like, he doesn't have to be in your hand. He doesn't have to be on the board to get the buff, right? Like, he can be in your deck and he'll still be getting buffed over and over. And then when you draw him, he'll come into your hand already buffed. So very strong, especially since he has Hunter as well. He can just go past guards and kill enemy leaders, which is really strong. I guess I would say the only downside is Hidden. Hidden is kind of like an upside and a downside. It's good in the sense that he's not going to get killed like the turn you play him, most likely, unless your opponent also has like a Hunter on the board. But on the downside, since he's hidden, it means that he cannot protect your leaders. So maybe you're going up against an aggro deck, you really need something to protect your leaders, and you draw Thomas Wayne. Well, he kind of sucks in that situation because of the hidden keyword. But more often than not, this card is very, very strong. Just something to keep in mind. And then I got one copy of the Bat Cycle. It's going to charge a friendly leader and give them evade and draw a card. Just overall insanely good card. Then we have Lucius Fox. I only run one copy of Lucius. My reasoning behind that is because you can't upgrade your gadgets twice, pretty much. I guess you could run 2 if you really wanted to just have a higher chance of drawing Lucius, but in my opinion, I think 1 copy is the way to go. This is a very slow play for a silver card, right? Like 1-2 is a very poor stat line for a silver card, but he makes up for it with upgrading the gadgets everywhere, and that means in your hand, in your deck, the ones Batman creates, and the upgraded gadgets are just insanely strong, right? Like the battering goes from 1 damage to 3 damage. All the gadgets are already strong, but once they get upgraded, they're pretty nuts. And now we move on into the gold cards. We got Dual Force, and what did I say, right? Keep on going here. Any card that says charge your leaders, it's probably a good card. Same thing with Dual Force, charge your leaders twice. Just not much else to say. It's just a really good card. Next up, we have the Recruit Batman. He's a 6/6. He has 3 keywords: ambush, hunter, hidden. After you play a gadget, draw a card. This card is just nuts. This card is insanely nuts. If you can get this card on the board and it stays on the board for like more than 1 turn, you're probably just winning the game. Like ambush is an insanely strong ability. Just being able to deal damage and not take damage back. Hunter being able to just deal damage directly to the enemy leaders. Hidden, he's not gonna die like the first turn you play him probably, and then after you play a gadget, draw a card. Like this card is kind of busted, honestly. This card's insanely strong. So yeah, not much else to say about that. It's just a very strong card. Next up we have Superman. Superman, also a very, very strong card here. 8/8 shield. While Superman is in your front row, your leaders are invincible. Just very good card at protecting your leaders. Also just really good at protecting you against decks that want to go face, meaning decks that want to deal direct damage to your leaders, like aggro decks, burn decks, Shazam decks that play like lightning bolts, poison ivy decks, right? Because while your leaders are invincible, they can't take any damage, so they have to answer Superman one way or another before they can start damaging your leaders. And then next up we have Truth and Justice. This is one of those cards that's like, if you have a full board of recruits on the game and you play Truth and Justice, like you just win basically. It's going to give you recruits +2/+2 and shield. And yeah, this is just an insanely strong card. I would say the downside to it is that if maybe your opponent just has a lot of removal and they're removing a lot of your units and you have like no units on the board, then this card is just kind of dead, right? So you kind of have to keep that in mind and just be aware of that. So you got to find like the right time to play it, right? You want as many units as possible on board, that way you can get the most value out of it. And yeah, if you get good value out of it, I would say like at least like 3 recruits, right? If you get at least 3 recruits with Truth and Justice, it's really good value. And then last but not least, we have Wonder Woman, which is a 6/6 with Aura. Deploy, give adjacent might characters +2/+2. Now, what's really good about this card is it reads might characters, and the difference between that and recruit means that you can buff your Superman leader, actually. So you can give him +2 attack permanently and extra +2 health. So very strong for that ability. Now the thing is, she can be a little bit awkward as to like where to place her, right, to get the most value out of her, because maybe you don't have a lot of might recruits on the board, but you're always going to have your Superman leader, unless he died early. But being able to buff recruits as well as your Superman leader is very valuable. So overall, that is the deck list. And let me show you the curve as well. It's a very nice curve. This is a very good like mid-range, like balanced deck, right? Like we got a good amount of bronzes, a decent amount of silvers, and a decent amount of golds. 30 recruits, 10 actions. And yeah, it's really just all about putting units on the board, buffing them up, while also removing your opponent's units, and then generating gadgets using your Superman ability to remove enemy units as well. That's actually something I didn't talk about too much, is Superman's ability. Why do I like playing Superman so much? It's just kind of simple, right? It's just simple. Every 3 turns, he's going to get 7 attack, and he's going to become invincible for that turn. So the way I look at it is it's just 7 damage of removal that you have on command every 3 turns or sooner, because we have a lot of ways to charge our leaders, right? With like Steve Trevor and Dual Force and Bat Cycle. So yeah, I usually don't activate Superman's ability to do 7 damage on a leader unless it's going to kill the leader. Then yeah, go ahead and do it. But if you're just going to do it to do 7 damage against the leader and they're still alive, I would not recommend doing that. I would recommend holding on to his ability until either you can A, kill your opponent's leader with that 7 damage, or B, use that 7 damage to take out one of your opponent's bigger units, something that can be very troublesome that you might have trouble removing otherwise, right? So that is it for this deck. This is what I played from bronze all the way to rank 10. Now, I didn't play this exact list that whole time, but I would say this is probably my most optimized version yet. I made a lot of changes. I tried the shield package with like Lois Lane, right? And it can work sometimes, but other times it just kind of feels awkward if you have like Lois and you don't have any shield units. If you have Bibbo and you don't have any shield units, it can feel a bit awkward at times. I also tried the Blue Beetle package on the tactics side with like Jaime Reyes and all that, and it is a good package, but I don't think it fits in this deck exactly. I don't think it fits in this deck. So this is what I've found to work for me, and I think it is the most optimized version that I have been playing. It's just that once I got to rank 10, this deck just kind of stopped working for me. So I would say if you're in the lower ranks still, like bronze, silver, gold, absolutely you can absolutely climb with this deck. Try it out. Let me know what you think. It's a ton of fun. It's a ton of fun, right? And Batman, Superman are like 2 of the most iconic DC characters or superhero characters rather in the whole world. So I don't know. It's a fun combination. Try it out. Let me know what you think. And let's move on to the next deck, which took me from rank 10 to World's Finest. All right, so here it is. This is the deck that I use for the final push of my climb to World's Finest. It is a Shazam Poison Ivy deck list. And, the reason I started playing this deck was because I was playing the other deck, right? I was playing Batman, Superman, and I got my ass kicked by this guy playing Shazam Poison Ivy twice in a row on ladder. And I was like, okay, I need to take a break from the game. So I was like, I'm going to sign off. I'm going to take a break. And I'm going to come back, and I'm going to build this deck. Now, it's probably not exactly as the other guy's deck version. I'm sure a lot of other people have played this combination as well, because it's a very, very strong combination, especially with the new Flashpoint card, right? That's why I named the deck Flashpoint. But Shazam's insane. Like, I think Shazam is either one of the best leaders in the game or the best leader in the game right now. He is insanely strong. So 3 charges. He gets +6 attack, creates 6 lightning bolts, which if you don't know, the lightning bolts are free action cards that deal 2 damage to an enemy and draw a card, and 22 health. As of recording this video, we are still waiting on a patch. I don't know if they're gonna nerf Shazam, but I think they should. One way or another. They either need to nerf his attack, his health, or the lightning bolts somehow. Maybe make it do 1 damage instead of 2. Would that kill Shazam? I'm not sure, but all I know is this leader is busted, right? This card is just it's nuts. It's nuts. If you want to climb, I would say play Shazam, or you could play the Flash Doomsday aggro as well, right? But this deck can beat the aggro deck. It's just kind of luck of the draw. It depends on how good their opening hand is, how good your opening hand is, and if you can recover and stabilize. But yeah, anyways, this leader combination is pretty nuts. So let's get into the cards here. Starting off, we run free cards, actually. We got Brainiac Drone, 0-1, Parting Shot, draw a card. Now we can sacrifice this card. I actually run Bane's Venom and Ritual Sacrifice in here. I don't see a lot of people play Bane's Venom. You can maybe swap this out, but I kind of like it with the Brainiac Drone, and I like it with the Dr. Sivana as well. I'll talk about those cards a little bit more when I get to them. But Brainiac Drone, Parting Shot, draw a card, right? Drawing cards is never a bad thing to do. And this deck actually really wants to draw cards because we want to draw our lightning bolts from Shazam. And when we draw cards, when we have Poison Ivy's vines on the board, we are dealing damage directly to the enemy leaders. So this deck is all about drawing cards. And then next up, staying in that same vein, right? Skeets. Skeets is a free card. He's a 1/2. After he attacks, he's going to draw a gold card. This is one of those cards that, like, your opponent probably wants to answer. If not, you're just going to keep drawing gold cards over and over if he can stay on the board and keep attacking, right? So just good free cards that allow us to draw more cards. Ambush Bug, just a really good bronze card, especially good against aggro decks since they usually run a lot of low health recruits. He's a 2/2 with speed, and he gets ambushed, so usually he can just, you know, take something early on in the game and not have to trade, meaning he doesn't die, he just does the damage, and he won't take any damage back because of the ambush ability, right? And then Bane's Venom, I talked about this one a little bit already. I think this one is flexible, but it is one less way for you to sacrifice your Brainiac Drone and your Dr. Sivana. I did kind of experiment with different cards in this slot. You maybe could try Deimos. Deimos is just a good bronze. You could do like Prometheus. You could maybe do Traumatize. I actually experimented with Traumatize. Traumatize is a very good card. You can maybe run like one Bane's Venom, one Traumatize. Let me know if you make any changes, and let me know how that works for you. Ritual Sacrifice. I would say Ritual Sacrifice is probably better than Bane's Venom. If you're going to choose one, like, sacrifice card, I would pick Ritual Sacrifice because sacrificing a friendly recruit to KO an enemy recruit is very, very powerful, right? Like, you can trade a Brainiac Drone for like just like anything, right? Like anything. Like, for example, I don't know what's a good example here. Like a Necron, right? Like, you can trade a Brainiac Drone for a Necron, or you trade your Skeets for like a Superman recruit or something crazy, right? So this card's pretty nuts. I would definitely keep this one in. If you had to pick between Ritual Sacrifice or Bane's Venom, this is definitely the better of the two. Next up, we have Energy Blast, just a very good 4 damage. Not much else to it, right? 4 damage, either to remove an enemy recruit or 4 damage to the leader, which is very good. Next up, we got Eugene Choi. Now, I got a bone to pick with Eugene Choi. I think this card is overtuned. I think this card needs a nerf. Like, a very slight nerf, right? Because, stick with me, he's a bronze card. He's a 2/3. He has aura and a deploy ability. Like, I feel like he does a little too much. Like, if we take a look at Bluebird, right? Well, I guess I'm not going to exit out of the deck, but if you take a look at Bluebird, which is a 2/3, also has a deploy effect, but no aura, no keyword, right? And I think Bluebird is fair. It's a good card, but it's fair. Eugene Choi, it's a little too much. I think this card is too good. This card is a little bit too good. I think you either remove the aura keyword or you take down his health by like 1, maybe even 2. That might be too harsh. But maybe I would say either take away the aura or take away his health by 1. A bit of a tangent there, right? I digress. But anyways, this is just a really good card. This is probably one of the best bronzes in the game, in my opinion. The thing is, he doesn't see a lot of play because he only makes sense in Shazam decks. So I guess maybe that's why he's a little he's a little too good is because you really only play him with Shazam. So maybe that makes sense. Whereas like something like Bluebird, you can really play with any tactics leader. So maybe that's the trade-off there. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about this card. I just think it's a little overtuned in my opinion. But yeah, anyways, creating 3 lightning bolts is good. 2-3, good for a bronze aura. Very good keyword. Moving on. Here we go. Flashpoint. This is one of like the main combos of the deck. So it's a brawn action that reads, put each card in your hand into your deck. Draw that many cards plus 1. So for example, if you have 4 cards in your hand, you play Flashpoint, you are going to draw 5 cards. If you have 5 cards in your hand, Flashpoint, you're going to draw 6, right? Basically, this card is nuts with Poison Ivy because the vines are going to deal 1 damage. Well, it's not really damage, right? It's like it's taking 1 health away from your leader. There is a bit of a distinction there, right? -1 health is not the same as dealing damage, because -1 health means it's reducing their maximum health, whereas damage is just dealing a point of damage, right? Like for example, real quick, like Ivy has 20 health. If you deal 1 damage to Ivy, she goes to 19 health out of 20 maximum health, so she could potentially heal back to 20. But if you're giving her -1 health, she's going to 19 out of 19 health. There's no healing back to 20. So just a bit of a distinction to make there. But anyways, Flashpoint, insanely strong card. Want to play this when you have the vines on the board because it'll just deal so much damage to your opponent's leader. And then if you get the lightning bolts from Shazam, you play the lightning bolts, you draw more cards, you're just dealing a ton of damage with this card. This card is nuts, man. This card is just nuts. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they maybe nerf this slightly. This card's also very nuts with Cyborg as well. If you want to go play Cyborg deck, maybe they take away the +1. Maybe they make it a silver card. I don't know, but this card could maybe use a nerf perhaps. Moving on, we have the Riddler, which is a bronze 2/4. At the start of your opponent's turn, they seek a card and put it in your hand. Now, the Riddler is very good here. He's just a generically good bronze, like a good stat line, right? 2/4 is pretty good for a bronze. And your opponent is giving you a card at the start of their turn. Now, it doesn't really matter what they give you. It's going to be a random card. Sometimes they might give you something that's just like trash, like it's no use to you. But the thing is, that's adding another card to your hand for your Flashpoint. So it doesn't really matter what they give you. Like, more cards is more cards. Like, I don't think you're ever going to have like a full hand. I think maybe I had a full hand just once playing this deck. Just once. So, I mean, free cards is free cards, right? Like we'll take it, right? Next up, we have Hugo Strange. 2/2, enemy leader loses a charge. Just a very, very powerful ability. Just good at stopping or delaying leader abilities. Things like Flash that want to like kill you early, or like delays a Batman from getting his gadgets. Just an overall very good bronze. Next up, we have Ivy's Flytrap. This card's been interesting. This card is very good in your opening hand. Like, this is probably like the best card you can get in your opening hand. Like, if I see this in my opening hand, I'm very, very happy and I'm very, very confident. But on the opposite side of that, if you draw this later in the game, it feels kind of bad. It feels kind of bad if you draw this late in the game, because your opponent probably has a way to get rid of it by that point in the game, right? Like, once you get to like gold resource. But early on in the game, 6 health, like there's nothing your opponent can do in like one turn to kill this thing. Like, I don't think there's anything they can do in like one turn to kill this thing. Maybe there is something and I'm not thinking of it off the top of my head, but if you go first, you play Ivy's Flytrap. Like, that Flytrap is surviving at least one turn. And if it survives at least one turn, at least draws you one card, it did its job. It did its job. If it draws more than one card, then great. Then that's great. It's especially good with the vines, right? It goes together, the fly trap and the vines. But if it draws at least one card, it did its job. And it's not a bad target to sacrifice with Bane's Venom or Ritual Sacrifice as well. So it's probably like the best card to get in your opening hand. Now we move on to the silvers. We got 2 copies of Mercy Graves. Now, I think I was sleeping on this card a little bit. This card is very powerful. So it has a 2/3 stat line, which is, I think, what kind of deterred me away from this card at first, because that's a very weak stat line for a silver card. And it has guard, but its deployability is very, very powerful. Your opponent doesn't generate their weakest resource next turn. They are limited to 1 resource for the next turn, and that will slow down decks like crazy. This ability is very, very powerful. And not to mention the guard keyword. Guard is just a good keyword as well, right? This card is insanely strong. I admit I was kind of sleeping on this card a little bit. I would highly recommend keeping this card in if you can. It's really good at just delaying your opponent, especially good against slowing down aggro decks as well. It slows down aggro decks in 2 ways, right? 1, it's a guard, and 2, your opponent is limited to 1 resource their next turn. So very, very good card. Next up, we have a Lightning Arc. Just a good action card. 5 damage to an enemy, 1 damage to each adjacent enemy. What makes this card really good is you can kill enemy leaders with it. So you can target recruits or leaders. Just a very powerful card. Shazam, 4/5 aura, start, draw an action. If this sticks on the board, we're just drawing cards. We're drawing lightning bolts. We're drawing our flashpoint. We're drawing cards for our poison ivy vines. Just a card that you want to stick on the board if possible, and then just draw an extra card each turn. And we have a ton of actions, right? We're not going to run out of actions in this deck. We have 14 actions, not to mention all the lightning bolts you'll be generating as well. Next up, we have Friends in High Places. This is probably one of my favorite cards in the Tyranny faction. It's going to seek a gold recruit from your deck and give them +3/+3. Now, all of our gold recruits, we have Shazam, Darkseid, Flash, and Lex Luthor. This is very good with the Flash. The Flash is probably the one I would go for with Friends with High Places. That's what the card is called, right? Friends in High Places. I totally forgot what it was called. But if you buff the Flash to a 6/6, a 6/6 that is invincible is nuts. And he has speed, and after you play an energy card, ready the Flash. This card is especially nuts with the lightning bolts and flashpoint, right? Flash and flashpoint. It all comes together. It all comes full circle. So what you can do is you can, like Friends in High Places, you get the Flash, you get a 6/6 Flash on the board, you attack with Flash, and then you play flashpoint, and then you ready Flash again, you attack with Flash again, and when you flashpoint, you're probably going to be drawing at least 1 lightning bolt, and then you play lightning bolt, you ready Flash again, and then it just keeps going and going. So Friends in High Places is very powerful, but I would go for the Flash if you can. Now it might change depending on the situation, right? But generally, I would say the Flash is what you want to hit with Friends in High Places. Moving on, we got Firestorm. This is a really fun card. He's a 4/3. At the end of your turn, he's going to deal 2 damage to each enemy in his lane for each other card you play this turn, so not including him. So if you play 1 other card, he'll deal 2. 2 other cards, he'll deal 4, so on and so forth. Again, one of those cards that's really good with a lightning bolt, since you can just play them over and over again because they're free. And he can hit enemy leaders as well, which is really nice. Next up, we have Dr. Sivana. This is one of the, I think this is the most recent card from the most recent comic, Shazam Superman. He's a silver 0/3 parting shot. Create 7 lightning bolts in your deck and draw a card. I'm I go kind of back and forth on this card. I really like this card, but at the same time, it's very, very slow. Like a 0-3, it's kind of like Lucius in the way, right? Like Lucius is a very slow silver. He's a 1-2, but he makes up for it with upgrading the gadgets. Dr. Savannah is kind of similar. He's a 0-3, but with his parting shot ability, he creates 7 lightning bolts and draws a card. So that's really, really good if you can pop it off. The issue is maybe you're going against aggro, and this card's just too slow for aggro decks. So if you draw Savannah against aggro, you're probably not playing him. Unless you have the Ritual Sacrifice or Bane's Venom in your hand to go along with him. But yeah, he's a very slow card, but when you are able to pull him off, either your opponent just kills him outright, or you sacrifice him with Bane's Venom or Ritual Sacrifice. It's a very, very powerful ability. Now we move on to the gold cards. Shazam. This is pretty much in every energy deck, I would say. 7-6 with speed. If he gets KO'd, he transforms into Billy Batson. Basically, your opponent has to kill Billy Batson. If not, he will transform back into Shazam the following turn. Very, very powerful gold card. Same thing with Darkseid, 7-9. A very unique ability in this game. You can pay a silver resource to KO an enemy recruit and destroy their space. Very good at destroying the space in front of the enemy leaders. That way your opponent cannot protect that specific leader. So just, again, another very good gold card. Flash, I already talked about him a lot. But basically just 3-3 speed, invincible. You play Flashpoint, you play the lightning bolts, and just ready him over and over again. Just insanely good card. Then we have Lex Luthor. He is a 2-10, which 10 is a crap load of health. That is a lot of health. It's pretty nuts, honestly. So Lex Luthor has +2 attack for each Tyranny card in your hand. And at the end of your turn, if he didn't attack this turn, draw a card. So this card is also insanely strong because the first turn you play him, he can't attack. So he's going to draw a card. So no matter what, the first turn you play him, he will draw a card. And, you know, it does lead to some interesting decision-making because you can be like, okay, do I attack with Lex's turn? Or if you have the vines on the board, you want to draw an extra card. Maybe you're like, maybe I don't attack to deal that extra damage with the vines, and it's just enough to KO the enemy leader, right? But I mean, most of the time you're probably gonna attack with him. It's very situational, but overall, just a very good gold card. A stupid, absurd amount of health for some reason. I feel like 10 is too much. I could even see this being like, I don't know, like a 8, like a 8, maybe a 7. I don't know. 10 is a lot. 10 is just that's pretty nuts. And then yeah, getting extra attack for each Tyranny card in your hand. And then last but not least, we have Hellblaze, which is just a good old board clear, right? This is your good old board clear. Anything that has 4 health or less is basically dead. It also deals 4 to the enemy leaders, which is really, really valuable. And that's it, guys. Those are the decks I used to get to World's Finest this season. Let me know what you think about these decks. I'm going to leave the deck codes in the description of this video if you want to copy and paste them into the game. Try them out for yourself. Maybe make a few adjustments if you think you can improve the decks. I built both these decks myself. I don't think I'm an amazing deck builder by any means. I'm sure there's plenty of people who are better deck builders than I am, but I had a lot of fun playing these decks, and I hope you will too. I hope they will help you climb. And thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, let me know. Let me know if you want to see more DC Dual Force content from me. I would really appreciate it. And let me know if there's anything else you want to see from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate you all, and I will see you in the next one. Later.